Hello there. I'm Scotty, and you're not. And today we're looking at Grease from 1979. 8. I had 8 in my head, and I said no. I don't know why. 1978. And well, I have a history with this film. A good history. It's a good history. My mom showed this to me when I was a kid, and ever since then, I've grown up with this movie. I love this movie. Rewatching it, I haven't watched it in a while. I have a bunch of Blu-rays. I don't always watch them all the time. And so there's a certain point I bought Grease 2 from Shopko on DVD. And I like Grease 2. Okay, I'm a Grease 2 apologist. I like the movie. I think it's good. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but I don't think it's terrible. Everybody bashes the movie. But I like the movie. I do. I like Grease 2. And for a while there, I was just watching Grease 2 whenever I wanted to put something on in the background. I was watching it over the first one, and I kept saying to myself, maybe I like this more than the first one, but every time I rewatch the first one, I'm reminded of just how good this movie is and how better it is than the second one. The second one's not bad. I will defend Grease 2 because it's not bad, in my opinion. But, and I'm going to talk about something from Grease 2 in this video because I feel like they handled something better in that than they did here. But, so what's the story? You know the story. Danny Zuko and Sandy Olson are two lovebirds who fall for each other over the summer break. The only problem is Sandy has to go back to Australia. I don't know about the original Broadway version or, theater version, but I know that the Grease live version, she was from Ohio, and I think they changed it to Australia because of Olivia Newton-John. But then, surprise of all surprises, plans change, and she ends up going to the same high school as Danny, and that causes a culture clash and a clash of the of the norm. She comes in and she just things change, and it causes Danny to think about his image and everything. And if this sounds familiar to your millennials out there or younger viewers, and you're saying, hey, this sounds like High School Musical, that's because Disney ripped it off. I will say, though, that Disney did handle a few things better. They didn't make Zac Efron's character was named Troy, I think I remember. I've seen those movies a million times too, but I love musicals. That's just my thing. But Troy handles it better than Danny does. At least he doesn't act like he's too cool. He actually tells her, hey, I have image, I have friends. I can't just be this guy. I have an image to protect. Well, here, you have Danny acting like a douche in front of her, in front of his friends, to impress his friends. I think Disney handled it a little bit better, although this was the 70s, and this movie is PG, but if it was around now, it would be PG-13 borderlining on R. And what I mean is, R comes from song lyrics. Like, here you have song lyrics like for Grease Lightning. That ain't no shit. We'll be getting lots of tit. Which could get you a PG-13 rating. And then you have the other line, that I ain't bragging. She's a real pussy wagon. Which would probably give you an R rating nowadays. How they got away with it in 1978, making this a PG film, is beyond me. And let's address the elephant in the room. Like, these teenagers are all 30-year-olds. Well, close to it. I think in the case of at least Stockard Channing and Jeff Conaway, who play Rizzo and Kenickie respectively, I think they were at least 30. All these others, they seem like they're in their late 20s, early 30s. They seem so old. And I understand that you want to get actors that are of age for certain scenes in your movies. I get it. You want there's that whole thing with underage actors have certain hours. So you want to get actors that are of age so that they can work certain hours. And nowadays, they've gone the way of hiring actors in their early 20s to play teenagers, which works better. And then there are in cases where they do have actually teenagers like 17, 18. That works. But, they're obviously, no one's going to see this and think John Travolta is 17, 18 years old. Same thing with Olivia Newton-John. Especially they're walking around. First of all, what high school allows you to just walk around the grounds smoking? And, there's the scene where Danny wants to prove that he's, the football player guy. I forget his name. So he goes to, the coach and wants to play a sport. And he's standing in the school smoking. And the coach is just like, let's just take it down 2 packs a day, huh? And I'm like, well, actually, it should be 1 pack a day if you're doing sports. Or no packs. But, he doesn't bat a night. Say, just take it down to 2 packs a day. I'm like, shouldn't you be yelling at him for smoking in a school? I mean, come on. They have a scene in the second one, which I'm not saying, that kind of, the whole thing where you have Nugarelli, Johnny. He's smoking in a school hallway, and when, it's kind of a repeat of the scene with Sonny here, but when the principal lady, I forget her name, comes in, he puts the cigarette in his mouth. And hides it. Where here, he's just smoking in a gym. It's a product of its time, but it still doesn't make any sense that he wouldn't yell at you for doing it on school grounds or anything. I don't know. But yeah, and I'm still my overall thoughts, by the way. That's pretty much, well, there is one other negative I want to talk about, but we'll talk about that when I get to the particular scene, because it's the one scene in the film that to this day I cannot watch. And if you think long and hard about it, you'll figure out what scene it is, but I cannot watch it. I'll mute it, go in the other room, so I don't have to see it, don't have to hear it. Why don't you fast forward it? Because I don't want to fast forward it. I want to keep the progress of the movie going, so here's that. But these are more positive thoughts here. I like how they make this look and feel like it's the 50s. The attitudes, the clothes, the sets, just everything oozes out 50s. I hold Happy Days as a standard of TV shows set in one decade and make it look like the other. You have your other shows like the Goldbergs and stuff like that. But that makes it look like it's really the feel of the 50s when it comes to TV. When it comes to movies, it's this and American Graffiti, which I think is actually set in the 60s. If I remember correctly. I haven't seen it, but the way that Gary Marshall was talking about Happy Days is, yeah, Ron Howard doing the 50s. But I hear it's actually the 60s. I don't know. But it just, when it comes to film, for me, this is, if you want a movie set in the 50s, this is the ultimate experience. You get the clothes, the attitude, this everything, the feel of the 50s. They mention certain things, like at the end where she talks about you could be a future Vice President Nixon. Moving on. You don't want to just say you don't want to be a future Vice President Nixon. Just say it. Don't think you want to be that. Just. I don't think you want to be Nixon. Just put it out there. Just put it out. Hindsight is 2020. That line probably doesn't sit well anymore. But the way this came out in the 70s, so maybe they knew what they were doing, but it just, I don't know. That line. But yeah, overall, I love this movie. And the music is fantastic in this. I still sing the songs to this day. Sometimes I'll be at work and I'll hum them or I'll sing them under my breath and stuff. Everyone, while I'm at work, I'll just randomly start singing a song, there's the site we go to where they got this paper company. I won't say the name, but they got machines running and we out there sweeping. And I'll just start singing a song, especially nowadays when you got to wear a mask. They can't tell you're singing, so I'll just go along and start singing. They can't hear me. They can't see me. They don't know, right? So it's, and I've always sung a song or like to have music playing. It kind of helps the workload go faster. You know what I mean? And sometimes I sing these. I had a Walkman. When I was in high school, when I was in gym, they allowed you to listen to music while you were walking around the gym. So I would take my Walkman and I would put it in and I would listen to the Grease soundtrack. I don't know if I had to cassette tape or if I recorded it to cassette tape. I had a CD, but I think I recorded this from CD to cassette tape because I didn't have a Discman yet. And I was in high school, so I was behind the times. I think the problem was I had Discman, but I kept breaking them, or it was one of those where you couldn't walk around with it because it would skip the disc, those cheap ones. But yeah, let's talk about the movie now. So we begin with love is a many splendid thing, and we see them on the beach, and she's like, this is the end. It's only the beginning. We get the animated title sequence, which makes it feel like a James Bond movie a little bit. You know what I mean? Like we have a pre-title sequence on the beach, and then we cut to a title sequence, and then we go to the rest of the movie. It's James Bond in high school with but sorry, I got a notification. But yeah, and I love this opening title sequence with the animation showing our characters in animated form. Stalker Channing's head's going when she's wearing that pink sweater, and it's cool because whatever they're wearing in the animated segment is what they're actually wearing when you see them for the first time on screen. So that's cool, and we get to meet our characters in a cool way. You see Sunny and Duty, and God, tip of my tongue. Is there a picture of him? No. Sunny, Duty. What's his name? He's the blonde one, right? Putsy. Sunny, Duty, and Putsy. Are those the real names? I don't know. But they're walking up to the school. They see Kenickie. They say hello. You get the line where Kenickie says, I was lugging boxes of Boggin City morons. And then they meet Danny, and we get our character introduction, and then Sandy walks up with Frenchie, which they never explained how they met, but, and they did like nearly miss each other. I don't know, they don't see each other. And then we're introduced to the Pink Ladies with Rizzo, Marty, and Chan. And they pull up in a car. So does that mean that Sandy and... Maybe they were on the bus. Maybe Sandy and Frenchie rode the bus, right? Who knows? Who knows? When you're a senior in high school, who knows? And I'm assuming this was the start of their senior year. This goes fast, though, because it's very fast, because you start at the beginning of their senior year. I mean, the second one does it, too. Start at the beginning of their senior year, and by the end of the film, they graduate, right? Speaking of graduate, this is the one thing that's always confused me about Sandy, all right? She graduated in the end of this film, right? But she transferred from a school in Australia to a school here, Rydell. I'm not sure what's supposed to take place. California? Michigan? I don't know where it takes place. But when you do that, your credits don't always transfer right. So how did she have enough credits to graduate? Keep in mind, we don't see them in many classes in this movie. Like, at all. If you think about it, like, we don't see them in any classes. Like, we see them at the beginning, where they do the frog thing and they're talking and stuff. But, like, there's not many classes that we see. There's more scenes in classes in this second one. Reproduction. But I lost my train of thought. Hold on. Choo-choo. Come on, get back on track. But yeah, it's just something that's always kind of been in the back of my mind, especially when I went through high school and I was like, oh, you have certain... And then you see other movies where they transferred, but oh, you don't have enough credits to graduate because of a transfer thing. And it's like, they even do it in the second one with Frenchie because she left for beauty school and then came back. And then the second one, she said, well, she didn't have enough credits to graduate. So that brings in the question, well, why did Sandy graduate? How did Sandy graduate? It's very confusing. But yeah. And then we get the first song, you know, tell me more, did you get very far? Summer Nights, the first official song. You don't count Love Is a Many Thunder Thing because that's a background song. You don't count any of the background songs as the actual song. Although I would count Born to Hand Jive and You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog, because those are songs that are, you know, fixed into the movie, and to an extent, Those Magic Changes as well, and Blue Moon. So the ones at the dance off thing, I think I would count as songs, even though they're not sung by the actual cast. But this is the first actual song that's done in the film. Like the title sequence, no, but this is the first actual song. And I love this song. You know, it's one of my favorites, I'd have to say. But yeah, it's a good song. And telling about what they did during the summer. And you could tell, like, she is telling about a wholesome summer. He's talking about getting it on. And so, yeah, there's a contrast there. Even now, he's showing off to his buddies. Where all these other people come from, I don't know. But, you know, it's beyond me. And then I hit the mention where they, oh, hey, what was this guy's name? And she's like, Danny Zuko. They're like, oh, ooh. Like, what? No, nothing. And then we get to the bonfire. Find out that Sandy is a cheerleader. And we get the football guy. I forget his name. So I'm just going to call him quarterback. I don't know if he's even a quarterback. I'm just going to call him quarterback. So we see her and quarterback making... I'm assuming he's the quarterback. Making eyes at each other. And then Rizzo hatches a plan to, mess with her. And so we get the one scene I do not like from this movie where Sandy and Danny meet up. And Danny acts like a douche to her because he's got to maintain his image in front of his friends. But here's the thing. And this is another thing I think the sequel does a little bit better is they explain it. They have a better explanation, I guess. I don't know if it's really explained here, if it's even a thing here. But in the sequel, they explained that only pink ladies can date T-birds. You can't date a T-bird if you're not a pink lady. You can't date a pink lady unless you're a T-bird. So there's that. If they applied to that here, and that her journey throughout the film to become a pink lady, which is something that the sequel doesn't handle well either, because he just kind of becomes, we'll get it when I get to that movie, but they decide to have him act like a dick because of his image in front of his friends. And it's like, but my biggest problem is he doesn't really do it for the rest of the film. There's the scene in the drive-in where he tries to force himself on her, but why? Why is that in there? There's no one else around to see him. That it's just another scene for them to break up so he can sing a sad song, which is another good song in the film, by the way. But I like all the songs in this, really. But I don't know. It just feels like they do this to keep them apart, and I understand that. But the other one is just kind of, I don't know. I don't know. They do too much to keep them apart in this film, in my opinion. But yeah, he acts like a douche, and she runs off because Rizzo knew he was gonna do it, and even he's like, "That was mean, Rizzo." I'm like, well, you could have, if you know she was doing this on purpose, you knew she was doing it on purpose, then why purposely do it? They say, "Hey, I'm not gonna stoop to your level." No, we're at 20 minutes, and I'm barely started the film. This could be a long one, folks. Yeah, so it's Danny's. The whole thing is that Danny wants to be with her, but he's got his image, so he's gonna try to get with her throughout the film. We see that there's a rivalry between them and the Scorpions. And the creative face Balmuto, or Leo, as he's just called here. I don't even call him, they call him Creative Face. And the second one, his name is Balmuto, and it's the same character, I guess. Just as a different gang name in the second one. I don't know. Creative Face, Leo Balmuto, I guess. And he shows up here and there, but he's not really an antagonist. They show him at the beginning here. He rams into Kenickie's car at the drive-in, and that's it. And no, he's at the dance-off later with Rizzo. But that's it. And so the guys wander off. The girls have a sleepover. And even though Rizzo just did this to her, she's there with Rizzo in the same room. They're all going to sleep over in the same room. And then she sings this song, "Look at me, I'm Sandra." That's if Droopy sang the song, apparently. Look at me, I am happy. Hooray. But apparently Droopy sang the song. I don't know. And I guess she left after that. We don't know. But, yeah. And then the guys are all hanging out, but Rizzo ditches them. So she could have stayed there, I guess. But Rizzo ditches them and goes off with Kenickie, and we get the thing with Leo, the Scorpion guy, who's with Chata Di Gregorio. Best dancer at St. Bernadette's with the worst reputation. But yeah, and then there's a thing there. And then the next day we get Grease Lightning, which is probably my favorite song in the entire movie. Go Grease Lightning, you're burning up the quarter mile. Grease Lightning, go Grease Lightning. I still love doing that dance. I did the dance. Okay, I'm a almost 35-year-old man, and I did the Grease Lightning dance. So sue me. And yeah, and he's still trying to date her. They go to the diner where they run into the rest of the gang, and even though it's obvious he's trying to avoid them, they still show up and ruin it, of course. And this is where we see where the relationships are going to be. We got Putsy and Jan, Sonny and Marty. I almost called her Maraschino, or Cherry at first. Sonny and Marty, who don't really have a relationship. Like, it's obvious she doesn't like him when she goes for Vince Fontaine. We're going to talk about Vince Fontaine because that dude belongs in jail. Let me just say, he belongs in jail. Oh my God, that guy would get canceled nowadays. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. But yeah, so, and of course there's Kenickie and Rizzo who are already having problems despite the fact that they were all over each other the night before, and now she's playing better Hickeys, and he's like, "Oh, Hickey from Kenickie." It's like a Hallmark card. We give our very best, or whatever. You pig. I like that. And of course, Danny and Sandy. And Frenchie and Duty. And they got like a beautiful blonde pineapple. That's later. And then we get the Beauty School Dropout song, another one of my favorites, sung by Frankie Avalon. Very good. Very good. I think it's Frankie Avalon, because Frankie Valli sings the opening song. I get confused. There's two Frankies. I think it's Frankie Avalon. Great song. The only one to do it better is Darren Criss on Glee. Boyz II Men were good, but it's Boyz II Men. They do good stuff all the time. It's so hard to say goodbye. But yeah, we get musical dropout song because she went to musical school, and then she dropped out because she failed all her classes, including tinting, which is why her hair is pink. Then it's yellow the next time we see her. We get to the dance off, and we see that Kenickie is with Cha-Cha, and then Rizzo is with Leo Balmito, Credit Face. And it's like, they did it to piss each other off, but like, it pisses Leo off more than anyone. And then all of a sudden we see that maybe Danny has had a history with Cha-Cha. Maybe they used to date each other. Also, I'm going to put on a scene where it's earlier in the film, before Leo bumps the car. Kenickie takes out a rubber, right? And he says, my 25-cent insurance policy. And then it's broken. And he comments that he bought it in the 7th grade. So, has he just had it since the 7th grade and never used that one and has used other ones? Or is that the first one he's ever used? And does that mean Kenickie is actually a virgin? Or it's just the first one he's ever used and he hasn't used protection before? It's something I never thought about tonight. But anyway, yeah, they get to dance off and we introduce the Vince Fontaine, who's hitting on Marty, who's supposed to be a teenage girl. Now, by this point, I'm guessing she could have turned 18. Who knows how far into the year we are. She could have turned 18. She could still be 17, which technically is the legal age of consent. Although I don't know about 1978 standards, but he's like all over her. And later, and this doesn't make any sense, later she's like, oh, you know, Vince Fontaine tried to put aspirin in my Coke at the dance. Now, does aspirin do something when you put it in drinks? Because as far as I know, aspirin cures headaches and fevers. What did aspirin do? Put it in a Coke? Would it make her loopy-ish? I'm not sure what aspirin did in the 1950s. I don't know, but to me, aspirin, I always thought it was absinthe she was saying, but I had the subtitles on. She says aspirin. I'm like, what would aspirin do when you put it in drinks? That doesn't make any sense to me, but, you know, I'm an idiot on YouTube, so who knows? But yeah, so that was confusing. But yeah, he would get canceled nowadays for sure. And so for some reason, and this is the one thing I think they handle better in the Grease Live version, is that during this dance thing, during the hand drive, all of a sudden Sonny grabs Sandy, pulls her away, and Cha-Cha comes out and starts dancing with Danny. He looks away for a second, but then decides to go with it, and they end up winning the contest. Problem is, they would get disqualified because they went around signing up the couples. So he would have to continue to dance with Sandy to win the prize, but he switched partners. She was with Kenickie and already got tapped out. So she wouldn't be able to come back in there and dance with him to win the thing. So it doesn't make any sense. And then Sandy just walks off. Now this has always never made any sense to me. Never made any sense. In the live version though, they explained that Sandy has stage fright. Or not stage fright, but that Sandy has lied to her parents about being there. And once she sees that there's TV cameras, she runs off. Because she doesn't want her parents to know she lied. That makes so much sense than Sonny turning heel for 5 seconds and moving her out of the way. And then just being fine with Danny the next day. And they never mention it. It's a big leap delicate moment that's never mentioned again with him. It's very confusing. And then they have the scene at the drive-in. We get Sandy. And this review is running long, but yeah. And Blue Moon and stuff. There is one joke I forgot to mention. The joke where they're putting together the car. Oh, what car did you boost this from anyway? Boost this part from anyway? Your mother's. I like that. I like that line. But yeah. So let's cut to the ending here because there's the race at Thunder Road, which Kenickie gets knocked out, so Danny takes his place because Danny's the main character and he's got to do it. I always thought it was weird. Like, it's Kenickie's car. Why can't he do it? Danny's the main character, so he has to do it. So we got to knock Kenickie out so Danny can do it. I don't know. It's a little bit... It's a lazy writing. Oh, wait, he's supposed to do it. Why not just not have Danny be the one that rides it, to drives it to begin with? I don't know. But then Sandy asks for help from Frenchie. And then we get the final part of the movie where... And I'm going to talk about this because of what my channel does. So, Danny walks up and he's wearing a Letterman sweater. And he's like, what is this? And one of the friends is like, what is this, Halloween? If you don't know, John Carpenter's Halloween came out in 1978. I don't know if it was before this or after this, but I don't know if they meant to not to that, but it is kind of funny because they came out the same year. But he's like, I want to be with Sandy. I'm doing anything to do that. So he's now a jock, I guess. But then she walks up dressed like a greaser. So there's that. We get, you're the one that I want. And then we get, there is a subplot I forgot to mention where Rizzo might be pregnant, but it's not Kenickie's. But we didn't see her with any other guy. Although it is a thought she could have hooked up with Balmuto after the dance. Or Leo, or Creative Face, whatever. So, but then Kenickie says, oh, you don't know the guy. Or she says to them, you don't know the guy. So, I don't know. But it ends up she's not pregnant. They just get back together. So that subplot was relevant, I guess, and they're irrelevant. And then we get the end song. Wop bop loo bop wop bamboo. And yeah, and I do like that. It doesn't make any sense, but like they show them on like cardboard cutouts, and you see Duty with a dog. Like, why wasn't Frenchie there? Was it a prank that they did on the set and they left it in? Because that seems easy. The look on his face is like he had no idea it was going to be there. I don't know. But let's talk about the ending, because this ending has sparked a fan theory that I'm going to debunk right here. It's already been debunked, but I'm going to talk about it because it doesn't make any sense. So at the end, they're in Grease Lightning. The one from the red one from the song when it was in their fantasies, that one. And they get in the car and they're driving off in the middle of the football field. I don't know. And they fly off into the air and the movie ends. This has led people to speculate. So in the first song, Summer Nights, Danny sings the line, I saved her life, she nearly drowned. So this has led some people to believe and put out a theory that when they were on the beach, she actually drowned. And this movie is her last dying fantasy of the boy that she met on the beach, and them flying off at the end is her going into heaven. One big problem with this is that if it was a fantasy, why would she fetishize that the nice guy she met on the beach was a douchebag and treated her like shit? That makes no sense to me. And I remember when I first heard this fantasy, I'm like, I don't know. It can't. No, wait. Why would she fantasize about the guy that she met, such a nice guy, being an asshole to her? It doesn't make any sense. How would she know what his friends look like, school look like? No. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. I also forgot to mention Eugene and the coach. They're two of my favorite characters in here. And you get the thing. What's your name? I want you. Eugene. So we find Eugene is in the sequel, so he's not a senior, so why is he at the senior fair? Senior graduation fair. And I don't know. And we also know that Frenchie doesn't graduate, but she's still a senior. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that theory just doesn't make any sense to me. But I have some problems with this film, but I enjoy it every time I watch it. And that is to say that when it comes to Grease 2, it's going to go to the moon, baby. So, yeah. Perfect, absolutely perfect. 10 out of 10 to the moon. So what are your thoughts on Grease? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.